In today's video, I'm going to share with you one of the people that I see that is most ignored in the companies that I go to and the companies that I worked for in the success of an organization, and that is the trainer. For some reason, this is just a position that has just seemed like it's just not important, not needed, but this is critical to your business success. And I want to read to you an excerpt from a book that I wrote called Compassion at Work, and I talked about the trainer. So let me read you this passage real quick. In my experience, organizations focus on hanging marketing posters and giving employees tchotchkes to train their service philosophy. Sometimes the leadership team also creates a wonderful, well-produced video stating their commitment to customer service, because that's what I was talking about in particular, training customer service. But if the wrong person is in the role of trainer, it can break any compassionate service initiative put forward by the organization. If your trainers don't embody the organization's service philosophy, they certainly can't teach others to deliver it successfully. And this is how to ensure the best person in that role. And this goes for anything, whether you're training customer service, knowledge, how to do something. If you don't put some time and effort and thought into who that person is, that trainer, you are setting yourself up for a very bad experience, probably high turnover, and a lot of the problems that you're experiencing. So let's figure out how to solve that. If you're new to the channel, this is Leadership Bites and no, it's not. It's Lunch Bites and Leadership Insights. I'm Stacey Oliver Canapa, a long-term consultant, and I've worked in organizations. And the whole point of this is to take all of my experience and the different case studies that I've seen and give you some real answers in 15 minutes or less of how you can improve your organization, your employees, and your business results. So grab your lunch and let's get started. So for the video, I'm going to go through a couple of things. I'm going to tell you the trainers to be aware of, that the people that tend to get default into the role and what you need to be aware of, so that if it is problematic, you need to figure out a way to improve the situations. And then I'm going to talk about what the best trainers experience, the qualities that they have, so you know what to look out for and you know how to build up skills if you need to. And then the final little part, I will talk about where does AI and online training fit into all of this. Certainly a new development, but it's not the answer to everything. And at the end, I'm going to tell you why. So first, let's talk about the person itself. So regardless of if you are using computers or not, or online learning or AI or whatever you're using, there still is a person that needs to be in charge of someone's training. Now, this could be, as new hires, depending on what your industry is, there is a person who's probably in charge of their entire schedule. If it is to ramp up people, then there's also someone in charge of that schedule as well. So who that person is, how they have contact with the trainee, so the person trying to gain the knowledge, skills, and abilities, it is so important you have the right person in that role. So I kind of group the people who are the most problematic, I group them into three big categories. So the first one is that and this is probably the most common, it also happens in leadership, but that's a separate thing. The person was a rock star at the job. They were just amazing at the job itself, but so you promote them into a training role, then you find out they're a lousy trainer. So when this happens, what the person tends to do is they tend to fall back on what's called in the biz war stories. So they're terrible about transferring the knowledge to somebody else, but they've got a lot of experience behind them. So the new employees listen, which is great, or during the training class they listen. The problem is they can't replicate that trainer's result in their lives because the trainer had no idea how to transfer the skill. So there's that person, the person who's a great employee, terrible trainer. The next person who tends to get promoted into a training role is that they simply stuck around the longest. So this happens in organizations where there's high turnover. Mostly I see this in contact centers, but it's really going everywhere right now. So this person also, they don't really have a lot of experience of how to train people, but they do have some tenure. So some tenure is better than nothing. But you want to be sure with this person, if you see that they've got the basic trainer skills, then you want to give them some development in training so they learn how to transfer even their newer knowledge into somebody else. That they're probably a little more optimistic, a little more excited about the role. They just may not know how to accomplish it. And the third one, that this one I call buyer beware, are the long term employees. They are just kind of coasting along in a trainer position because really no one else knows what they're doing, but they're burnt out and they're really hung on into the past. So they might have seen the company has changed quite a bit, how you do business has changed because every bit is, I don't care if you're in construction, call centers, hospitality, real estate. It doesn't matter what you do, whatever your widget is, it has changed how it is done, even in 5 years or 10 years. So these hanging on trainers who are kind of coasting along, they can really be terrible for your business because they are giving the new people who are all enthusiastic about their new roles, they're just living in the past saying, well, it's too bad you're here now because when I started, it was amazing. You really have to deal with these folks. You can do it by observing them in class, watching what they're doing, and giving them coaching. And it may be time to just move them on to a different position that's completely legitimate. And, as long as I say you approach everyone with kindness, understanding, compassion, and give them the opportunity to change, then that's the right thing to do. So again, those three are the, I have to look at my notes. The superstar employee, terrible trainer. The second one is, they're just the trainer because they hung around longer than anybody else. So they need some skill building. And then you've got the hanger ons, the most damaging, the long term employees are just coasting along in training, but they're really living in the past and they're very vocal about living in the past. So, who are the best trainers? Well, the best trainers are compassionate and curious, is what I have found, and that they truly get what it is to be a trainer. Is it's not about them. It's not about being entertaining. That is something that kind of is in our world, is like you need to entertain people all the time. No, you don't. To be an effective trainer, you need to be compassionate that learning a new skill is hard. Doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's learning how to drive, if it's learning how to service a new product, if it's learning how to, maybe adapt a new sales skill or learn how to put together a new construction project. It doesn't matter. It is frustrating and humbling for the student, participant, employee, whatever term you want to use. And it takes time. So they have compassion about the time that it takes. Not everybody will pick up the skills at the same speed. I've seen it, several times where somebody's great at the customer service side or the communication side. They can actually talk to customers or they can talk to other people and they have no problem, but they're lousy at the computer side of it. And most jobs now have both components, is that you have a soft skill side and you have a hard skill side. And I've seen it the other way too. They're great at the hard skills. You can put them on the computer. They're going to learn whatever they need to learn with quickly, but they're terrible. Their communication soft skills are terrible. So you need a trainer who kind of understands both sides of that, and they got the techniques and the encouragement to keep the person moving on, that they are joyful about working for your company because they are the face of your company for that first interaction. This is in new hire orientation, so you want your HR person enthusiastic if that's how you do new hire orientation. You want their hiring manager enthusiastic, and you certainly want that trainer enthusiastic. Like, this is a great place to work. I know you're going to be here a long time, and we're excited to have you, and I'm here to help you become successful even as early as possible. The other thing that the best trainers have is that they are curious and they are agile. So they're curious about watching how people are building their skills. They are curious how people work. There's such a psychological component to this. Adults, we hate looking stupid, right? We hate looking stupid. And of course, when you learn a new skill, which is the whole job of training, is to help people learn something new, they really need to be curious of how each person ticks learning something new. Are they okay messing up? Not many people are. Or do they really need that extra coaching, that extra encouragement? And they're also agile, so they can adapt to the person. So they can go off script. In training world, usually you have a script of some kind or a facilitation guide to tell you to talk about, but they can read the room. They can tell, oh, you know what, this is tanking. We got to do something else. Or they can tailor it and be agile to the individual, help them get individually where they need to be. Sometimes it's catching up with the class. Sometimes it's telling them to slow down. But those are the two things that you want to really build their skills in, is how can they be compassionate, curious, agile. If they don't know classroom management, get them in a train the trainer class. I teach one, and I've taught thousands of trainers of how to write content, how to deliver content, and how to be agile. So get them in some kind of course like that to give them that very specific, separate, important skill. And then you'll be just fine in your trainer talent. So, AI and online training are certainly a part of our world now. Online training has been a part of our world for quite a long time. So, absolutely, you can see from the lights on the screen. I've been doing this for a long time. And when I started out, there was no such thing as online learning. Um, it didn't really take long, though, to start being a critical part of new hire training. I worked in a call center, and we did most of our training at the beginning on in person, traditional, we call it instructor led training. So, facilitator in the room, everybody is listening to that person. Even in my short year there, the first year there, they moved to online training for the first couple of days, so people got foundational knowledge, and then they moved to the instructor led training. So even in that short year, and that was early 2000s, things were starting to switch online, where I think we as organizations and leaders, you don't get, online does not replace a person. Online training can be really effective for some things like basic knowledge. You just need to someone to know where all the resorts are in the portfolio, or you need to know statutes or laws, that kind of thing. Online learning can be effective for that. But if you want them to actually behave and work with a human being, then you're going to need a human being to handle that live interaction. AI is certainly getting a lot smarter about mimicking those human actions, but right now they're not replacing it. So you could have somebody who's great in training with an AI bot. They are clicking all the right buttons, because right now it's not quite there. The technology is getting more there where you interact with a bot, but even with a bot is still not a person, because when you start talking to a person, just the emotions go up on both sides. You can't expect what a person will say. And that is where it's all going to work together. But you certainly, in the near future, I would say for the next decade, I don't know, maybe AI is even getting faster than that. But you're still going to have a human component of running through the skill building part. You also want the human component there because you just want to check, are they doing it correctly? There's one thing scoring a test, there's another thing hearing it in real life, hearing tone, hearing intention. And that's where I see companies are missing right now, is they're relying too much on online learning, too much on AI, and not enough on a human being. That human being can be a trainer, or it can be the hiring manager to double check, are they really ready to get in front of a customer to represent you and do the right thing? So it's all going to have its place. It certainly does. I tell you, AI helps me in as far as content development. I can certainly get things done in days, which used to take me weeks. But the human element of is I've trained over 10,000 people. So AI can give me the facilitator guide, but it's my human experience of interacting with all of these people that I can tell whether it's going to work or not. AI is just looking at facilitator guides that are available on the internet or through other sources. I'm looking at it as from I've been in front of a lot of people. I've had a lot of successful training sessions. I've had some that absolutely tanked, but I know why. And I also want to give you some food for thought from my friend. I check a lot with my younger colleagues that are entering the workforce now, asking them about training. And he said something really important. He said, online training has its place. That's fine for most things. But the more critical the topic, the more I want a person teaching it to me. Because I asked him specifically about like compliance sort of things like sexual harassment. And he said, sexual harassment would be much more effective if a person was training me, especially the person who was going to be my go to person when something went bad. So he was actually talking about leadership, but I do think a high level trainer too can be just as effective at that. So think about that. I think we default to like our younger generations, they want TikTok type of trainings, has its place for sure. But if you want something serious done and you want it done right, you're probably going to need to invest some smart human training interactions, letting people be comfortable, and that is going to be successful. So I hope all of this helped. I probably went a little bit over my 15 minutes because I love training. I just think it's one of the most critical pieces of a business. You do it right, you set your organization up for success, you set your leadership up for success, and you certainly get the business results that you're looking for. So if you have any comments or questions, please leave them below. I am happy to help. And like and subscribe, of course, because the more you do, the more content I can create for complimentary kind of Stacy sessions. And I wish you the best. Enjoy the rest of your lunch.